Excellent. Okay, so we're going to switch to English now. This panel is called is Redefining Learning in the AI Era, Mastering the Art of Learning. So very happy to have two co-founders and founders of two very interesting startups. I don't know whether you still qualify as startups. As actually, you guys are very established already in your field. But nonetheless, tech company, maybe I just say, trying to address the issue of how to make teaching easier. So they both focus on, when we talk about AI and education, there's often a lot of confusion because itself is a wide spectrum. So it includes, the way I look at it is that who are the intended users? There are some intended for the students to use, there are some intended for the school administrators to use, and there are some that are intended to be teachers focused. So they are both Goodnotes and Lirvana Labs. They both have some apps and some applications to help teachers teach better. So this is going to be a very interesting discussion. So again, I'll give it to Christie first on what you guys are doing, and I think you have a video as well to show us your interface.
So thank you very much, Ken, and I'm delighted to be here, joined by Dr. Tran, Minh here. It's always, I think it's Goodnotes first, maybe, perhaps?
Switch.
That's okay, we don't mind. We can go
Do you want to switch
alphabetical
to Lirvana or
from G to
Goodnotes, or it's up to, if we can do both.
Okay, we're going live right now, okay.
Hi, I'm Yeti. Did you know that according to Wall Street Journal, 55% of teachers reported plans to leave the education field sooner than planned?
That staggering number doesn't really surprise me. Actually, teachers spend countless number of hours creating lesson plans, creating homework assignments, creating formative assessments, and drafting parent communication every day. On top of that, they try to connect with each student on an individual level, trying to identify who's struggling, who's excelling, and what every student needs to thrive in their learning environments.
We all know teachers are the heart of every classroom, but the immense work they put in, it often goes unnoticed. They're left stressed and stretched thin, with little time to focus on what truly matters, teaching. Here's how I help. The teacher directs me with learning objectives for the class. I deliver personalized content to each student, learning from the child's interactions. I then provide actionable insights and collaborate with the teacher, saving time and improving instruction quality. This data is then queryable by the teacher and used to steer the learning process forward, continuously improving outcomes for every student. I have 7 AI-powered agents who work seamlessly in this learning loop to personalize learning, analyze data, and save teachers time, all through a collaborative two-way interaction. I don't just assist, but also empower them to be the teacher they've always wanted to be, while continuously improving outcomes for their students. Let's see me in action. Imagine first-grade teacher Ms. Evans planning a field trip to the supermarket, a fun and meaningful way to teach budgeting, vocabulary, and teamwork. How does Ms. Evans ensure every student is ready? That's where my 7 specialized agents come in to work with Ms. Evans to support her and the students at every step. Let's follow Alex. Ms. Evans knows and tells me that he is struggling with addition and subtraction, but thrives in vocabulary. The librarian first selects a simple counting song that reinforces basic addition and subtraction skills from a library of over 800 teacher-approved resources tailored to Alex's needs. These resources are seamlessly integrated into Alex's learning app, ensuring he can prepare at his own pace. The lesson planner then sequences and tailors a plan for Alex by assessing his math skills, reinforcing them with interactive games, and dynamically adapting based on his progress to prepare him for real-world tasks. The Question Master generates assessments with dynamic, step-by-step oral explanations in 28 languages, adapting to Alex's English language learning journey.
3加3是多少?
While Alex engages with their personalized activities, the next 3 agents work together to help the teacher refine Alex's learning plan. The data analyst collects and organizes Alex's inputs, like how many questions he answered correctly, which games he completed, and where he struggled. The diagnosis specialist identifies trends in Alex's performance. Chief Yeti, the collaborator, brings together the AI-collected intelligence for Alex and all students in this class from the other agents, organizing it into actionable insights for show and tell with the teacher. Through this process, Ms. Evans can make sure Alex and all his other classmates are up to speed and ready to go for the supermarket field trip, using a fraction of the time it would have taken her normally. I am here to help assess adaptively, boost learning and teaching with effective materials so that teachers can connect with each student.
When we think about AI in education, I think it's very important that we focus on impact and evidence of learner and teacher empowerment through the use of AI in classrooms. Our team has worked with over 30,000 students in 3 continents now, and they include Syrian refugee children in Lebanon, public school students in the United States, and bilingual international school students all across Asia. What makes us proud of our work is the evidence in outcome change for our learners. We've measured a 1.28 grade level average English score improvement after having Yeti in classrooms in 2 semesters. That piece of evidence and our impact has won us the 2024 MIT Solve Global Learning Challenge Award and the Soup's Choice Award, voted by 30 nationwide superintendents in 2024 across the US. What powers up my team every day to come to work is seeing how much teachers love having Yeti in their classroom, collaborating with Yeti, improving their instruction, and improving alignment to curriculum for all of their students.
Join us as we empower teachers, inspire students, and redefine education.
All right. So thank you for the video. So let me get it. Make sure I understand. So, it's actually you actually address an issue that we were talking about at the end of the panel, of the last panel, which is, yes, we have all these analysis. We can say, yeah, this student is weak at this. That student is weak at some other things. Then what, right? Because then you go back to a classroom and everybody is listening to the teacher and they're talking about the same thing at the curriculum anyway. So what you're trying to address, if I understand correctly, is actually each student has a different path through your app. Is that right? So for example, when using your field trip to a supermarket example, the same class go to the same field trip. A student who is weaker in math, his or her assignment would mostly be math problems, and another student who is weaker in language or vocabulary, his and her assignment in the same field trip would be more focused on vocabulary. Is that correct?
Yes, that's exactly right. That's the first step in the loop. The loop that we have built as a deep tech model and a company based in Silicon Valley. We talk a lot about not just artificial intelligence, but hybrid intelligence. So the first step is actually getting the right kinds of differentiated materials in front of the student or the learner so that we can get a deep understanding of proficiency and competencies. Once you have that insight, you cannot forget about the human that's teaching in the classroom as well. The human has planned field trips. The human has planned assessments and exams. The human has a lesson plan to engage the student in the classroom as well. We close the loop between online and offline by providing an actionable insight collaborator that the teacher can ask anytime for all sorts of things. So the teacher can ask Yeti for cohorting the whole class into 3 different groups based on literacy proficiencies, then designing a bespoke assignment for each of the 3 grades in literacy. Or the teacher can show Yeti a picture of their lessons, a scanned document of their scope and sequence, and Yeti will not only differentiate for each student, but align to what the teacher is doing in class as well. Because oftentimes we talk about EdTech and adaptive learning tools. Personalization is not new. Adaptive learning is not new. But what we see as the real paradigm shift in AI is its ability to collaborate with the caregiver or the educator in a seamless way where the educator can show and tell Yeti things that they are doing in classrooms. And Yeti has the discernment to understand how I then deliver differentiated lessons that are still aligned to the teacher's goals
Right.
for each and every student.
Okay, so the differentiated learning, obviously you create the artifacts and the different curriculum for the different students, and they access those artifacts through their app and doing a self-learning. Is that how it works?
So for the learner, Yeti can take in instruction from the teacher. It can autopilot. It can also autopilot based on the learner's interactions with practices and formative, summative assessments in app. And it will form a sequence of events. The formation of that lesson plan, the lesson planner agent, has been trained on about 200 to 230 pieces of research across the spectrum of domain-specific pedagogy, competency-based learning methodologies, domain-specific instruction versus interdisciplinary instruction. It has gathered a lot of research, and it is a specialist model. We often say the teachers that have Yeti in the classroom is kind of like a teacher that has a Harvard Graduate School of Education assistant, right? So you can tell this assistant what you're trying to achieve in class, and this assistant will plan out interactive games and assessments in the application for the learner online. But at the same time, let's not forget the human that is going to spend the majority of the time with the student. The student is only going to be about 30 minutes online every day. The majority of the school day is offline in the real world.
Okay.
So what Yeti helps the teacher do is plan out their offline instruction as well. And this offline instruction is highly personalized to the composition of the students in your classroom. Because Yeti can not only design a lesson plan like GPT could do. If you prompted GPT and you spent the time to prompt it well, it can also produce a lesson plan. But the difference with Yeti is powered with knowledge not only of pedagogy and curriculum, but also knowledge of your students. So it can plan out a lesson plan knowing that in your class, there are maybe 15% of your students that have special needs, or that might be learning on a spectrum. And so you need a more active, real-life, hands-on lesson plan to engage everyone in your classroom. So it improves inclusivity in the classroom. Or it might know that in your classroom, this particular first grade class is struggling particularly with distinguishing phonic sounds, but they're very strong on vocabulary already. So in the lesson plan that Yeti provides you with, it will focus on the areas of struggle while it reinforces the areas of strength.
Okay,
Right, so-
I think also that's actually one of the, correct me if I'm wrong, the tech could be one of the biggest developments or being in development is obviously when you're doing one-to-one on the app, is app learning or self-learning as a one-to-one experience, so that can be completely personalized. The classroom is still ultimately a one-to-many, right? So how personalized can that be? Right, so what you're saying is like, ultimately it's not going to be one-to-one on every. A teacher cannot address all 20 students differently, but at least they can find patterns. Maybe there are 3 or 4 different groups within that class that they can cater to. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, and that's the Ask Yeti piece of the puzzle.
Okay.
The teacher can also show Yeti what the teacher has observed in the classroom. So then it's married up with the human intelligence together with the artificial intelligence. And that's what we believe is the highest order of, the front most cutting edge technology we have now in Silicon Valley, which is the hybrid intelligence model. So the human can actually steer the model using multimodal inputs to create something that ties back to culture, context, ties back to themes that this particular school might be going after. For example, we were talking about Chinese culture in your previous panel. the teacher can actually tell the model that we're trying to teach something that is related to Guoman in China, in the Chinese literacy programming. But I want to teach this in my supermarket field trip. How can I tie that back together? And the model can take into account this context that only the human has to then further refine what it provides to the teacher, so it can assure the educators and the school leadership that it is curriculum aligned, context and culture responsive, and it is really fit for purpose, and not just a general language model that looks and sounds magical, that created something in less time than humans. Not only that, but a higher quality design, a higher quality artifact is created for your context.
Okay. So I want to take now to go to Min, and then maybe Min, can you tell us Goodnotes? I think a lot of us probably have Goodnotes on our iPad or I certainly do, or iPhone. But actually, there's the Goodnotes for teachers most of us don't have. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about that.
So Goodnotes, can I just ask in the audience, how many of you have heard of Goodnotes before?
Wow.
Okay.
That's very good.
I think my intro is not necessary then. How many of you have heard of Goodnotes Classroom before? Okay, some of you. So many of you know us as a note-taking app. We are the most downloaded app on the iPad globally, more than YouTube, more than Netflix, which to me till today is still astounding. So we are really a companion for students, teachers, professionals, wherever they go. Whenever they need to get something done, we're their digital paper. And there are many ways in which they use our app to be creative, to be productive. And it's always really amazing to see what teachers, students, and professionals do, particularly in hacking our app to do more than it's intended for. So Goodnotes today is in 15,000 schools across the world. And we have 3 million teachers using the app to teach every day. And teachers hacked our app to teach with Goodnotes. I say hack because Goodnotes was intended for note-taking, but teachers, because they love it so much, they just hacked it to use it for teaching. So then that's why we created Goodnotes Classroom. We interviewed the teachers who were hacking our app, many of them Apple Distinguished Educators. We brought them into our office and we asked them, show us how you're using Goodnotes to teach. Again, not intended for that purpose, right? And observing how they hacked our app, we basically built for them. And
Okay, can you show us?
of course. Well, let me just very quickly give you some numbers. This is on the consumer app. We have 27 million monthly active users, and that's always fast growing. And our users create 2.5 billion notebooks a year in the app. And this is our team. We actually were very honored to have won iPad App of the Year in 2022. And that's our founder, Stephen, and I with Tim Cook. And a little bit more just about our team. We're a very distributed team. We're now more than 300 people, but we're in 40 countries, majority remote. And everything we do, it's powered by our engineers. Of course, they make world-class technology, and our bar for engineering hiring is very, very high. Our acceptance rate for engineer is less than 1%. And our team gets together once a year. We were just in Istanbul last month. And let me now show the video. So in Goodnotes Classroom, we've built AI for students and we've built AI for teachers. So for students, they can use Ask Goodnotes to ask Goodnotes any questions. They can actually lasso a graph, for example, or lasso a table in a scientific article that they may not be able to understand. And when they lasso that, it will actually give you, help explain that graph or that table to you. That's an example of how it's not just a simple Q&A, right? And then the other for teachers is we allow the teacher to run their class in Goodnotes with just an iPad, meaning the teacher can see any student's screen and they swipe left and right on their iPad and they have all the student screens. They can then write onto any of the student screens. And where AI comes in is what we've built for teachers is automated grading of automated assessment of the student's handwriting. We have proprietary ML model that recognizes the handwriting, and then we use LLM to help sort similar answers if it's open-ended, or compare the student's answer to a model answer if it's close-ended. So that's how we empower teachers to just have very easy posts of the classroom using our AI grading.
Okay, so let me also just make sure I understand. So
Sure.
So in the class, they would run the teacher and the students with all open Goodnotes,
Everyone's in Goodnotes.
right? And then the student use the student version, and the teacher has a teacher version. And in the teacher version, they can see what everybody is writing by swiping
They can
left
see
and right.
every student's screen, and
Real
they can
time.
control real time, and they can control every student's screen.
And on top of that, it recognizes the handwriting and then automatically grades things. Is that a brief,
Yeah,
oversimplified summary?
No, that's right. And why that is different is because a lot of AI today is for typing input or simple multiple choice input. And where Goodnotes is differentiated is that we can do that too. We can do typing input, voice input, simple multiple choice input, right, by selection with touch. But where we're uniquely additional is the handwriting input. And for a lot of classes, that's what's needed, right? If you imagine a math class, you cannot type math. So as the students are working on the math using handwriting, we can actually recognize the math itself. And we can actually generate the results as well, the math solution for the students as well. But of course, only if the teacher allows it. And that's also really hard to do. And right now we can do up to calculus.
Okay, so if you were, I don't know whether you were here for the last panel, but if you were, you would notice that I played the role of a mean venture capitalist. So I'm going to do that now to you, if you don't mind. So if I'm the mean venture capitalist and I break your Goodnotes into several pieces, you have a cloud-based whiteboarding, right? The cloud-based whiteboarding, digital whiteboarding. Basically, everybody writes and everybody can see and collaborate at the same time. That's one piece. You have some handwriting recognition, and you have some LLM-based grading. All of these are existing stuff. What makes you so special?
It's what I said, right? First of all, the demand is there. We have that natural demand from teachers to use it. We already have 3 million teachers using Goodnotes every day. So they want to be working in Goodnotes. And what we've done is we've brought the AI that they want into Goodnotes so that they have it at their fingertip. We're not building AI just for AI's sake. We're not pushing just an AI product, right? We're really empowering teachers to have an AI companion for the workflows that they want AI support for. So this is really all built with teachers. We say co-created with teachers, as when we were from the very beginning, from prototyping all the way till today, we're still testing with any new feature release. We're talking to teachers.
Okay. And how integrated are you with the existing LMS or the existing system of keeping track of the students' grading, or even with Google Classroom, which basically is everywhere, right?
Yeah.
So how does that integration work, and what are you trying to integrate between those two?
Yes, so we're integrated with Google Classroom, and the most popular LMS, SIS, right? And we're doing more and more of that. But for our teachers, that's not what they need us for. They don't need us for the summative. They don't need us for the grading input. What they want, which is so hard to get, is a really good, seamless in-class experience. And with technology, that feels like it just works and it's native and it's what students are also really loving. So that's what's really hard for, I think, teachers to find and why they love Goodnotes.
Okay. All right. So the other thing that you two have in common is that you have both, you're global, right? So you have rolled out, you have implemented in schools in a lot of places. Can I ask you, what are some of the differences you see between rolling out this kind of technology into schools in the West versus, say, Hong Kong? Are there any differences, and what are they, if there are?
Well, first of all, I want to applaud Min first for being such a great product-led strategist and achieving so much in such a short time. My favorite anecdote is always thinking about the impact that we're having on everyone that's surrounding the learner. So whether it is the teacher or the parent, how they react to seeing their child interact with an AI tool, right? Because I am a mother of 3, and I have a 5-year-old, a 7-year-old, and a 9-year-old. I have both boys and girls. And the first time that I introduced Yeti to my daughter, my 9-year-old was just a 5-year-old at that time. And she started trying to look for Yeti in the house because it was that humanistic. Right? Because the first time she met Yeti, Yeti said, "Hi, Avery. We're going to be learning about adding with objects today. Your mom tells me that you like adding, but you don't like subtracting. So what's up with that?" Right? So Yeti believes that, well, my daughter believes that Yeti is alive. Right?
Wow.
So that personable learning companion, I think, makes a really big difference to the child. Whether or not we are working with Ukrainian and Russian asylum seekers in New York City's public schools, and Yeti speaks in Russian to the child for the first time and calls the child by name and says something specific about progress that they have made, the immediate reaction that the student has is their eyes are, "Who's this? This person knows me." Right? So I think that is something that I see universal across all countries. That personable, that really hyper-differentiated interaction that the AI can generate for the learner is universal. But what is different is the context. And when we were building the 7 agentic models, and we talk a lot about having the human intelligence in the loop, we thought about what really makes a difference between a Syrian refugee teacher teaching in Lebanon versus a international school teacher teaching in Hong Kong, right? It's the cultural context that is different. Every single one of them want to build a stronger mentorship, coaching relationship with the student. I know that Min's product is breaking down that barrier between the time of the child writing during class and the teacher knowing what the child is writing. That's solving the connection problem between the teacher and the student. And we're the same, because the teacher fell in love with teaching because they really wanted that relationship with the student. They might have been inspired by a teacher that have connected deeply with them in the past. But that connection is culturally specific, context specific. And so
How
in the
about-
beginning.
How about in terms of the acceptance of the schools? Because you both sell
Yes.
to schools, right? Do you
Yes.
see any difference in terms of
Yes.
hesitation or
Yes.
rollouts in terms of from the school level?
Yeah. I think the adoption curve is quite similar,
Okay.
but it's just at different stages in different countries. So, for example, in Silicon Valley in LA, or in sort of the eastern regions of the United States, they have sort of gotten past the early stage excitement, past the trough of disillusionment, and they're sort of going in a stable direction of setting up rules and regulations of how AI should be used in classrooms, right? So we're seeing a sort of the full cycle of maturity in any sort of new technology being used. That's the stage that I would say, the United States and Silicon Valley is at, right? When we are in Hong Kong, but not simply just Hong Kong, but also Singapore, Thailand, and all the other Southeast Asian countries that we work in, I think we are still at the very excited stage, right? The early adopters are gaining a lot of accolades. We see a lot of teachers getting awards for being the most innovative teacher. We see, ministries of education really pushing funding for AI in learning and teaching, right? But I think there's going to hit a point where everyone would hit pause and say, what is this AI used, what is it solving? What is the pain point in my context? Why do I need this in my classroom? Is it because teachers are tired and they want to grade faster? Or is it because I want differentiated, personalized learning? Maybe not, right? Or is it that I want curriculum alignment and I want an AI lesson planner that has been pre-trained with a knowledge base that aligns to the Hong Kong curriculum and Hong Kong character, values, etc., right? So I think we are close to hitting that stage now in Hong Kong. And in my many interactions with principals, curriculum designers, technology directors in schools, we have a couple of them here in the audience with us today as well. The conversation has shifted from, let's use something because it's magical, to why am I using it? Right? So that's a good and healthy step, I would say.
So right now, maybe people are FOMO, right? They just feel missing out this break. Wow, everybody's talking about, I got to do something about it. And then they use it and say, wow, actually, I'm kind of disappointed because they haven't actually thought about their user requirement to begin with. So then after that becomes a more healthy development after that. After they actually, I need to start from solving some issues first and then looking for solution.
It is sort of the what. They went from the what-led question to now the why question.
Min?
Yeah, so our strategy has been a little bit different. As you know, we're very tied to the iPad. So we started our work with Apple Distinguished Schools around the world. If you don't, for those of you who may not know, Apple recognizes schools across the world that has adopted Apple technology well. So we started with them because these are the most forward-thinking, the most tech-savvy, and AI-forward schools, right? So we started with them when we were still incubating the product. And then today, we're really working with the Apple ecosystem of Apple resellers, Apple distributors. So these are in every country, right, across the world. So where the iPad is prominent as you need a one-to-one iPad to use Goodnotes Classroom today. We're working on a cross-platform, but today, if you want to use Goodnotes Classroom, it's still very much one-to-one iPad and Apple Pencil. So we're working through that network of Apple schools, and they're unique in that they are more tech-savvy, and the principals of these schools, the tech directors of these schools are all very willing to have that conversation about how do we best use AI. And we are very much focused on what are the workflows, what are the teacher workflows that we're solving for. When I was a 5th grade math and science teacher in Los Angeles, I spent 3 hours, maybe, almost every night building my PowerPoint for the next day, right? Today, you don't need to do that anymore as a teacher. You could just get the AI to pump out a PowerPoint for you on whatever topic within a minute. How beautiful is that? Now, of course, you still need to, negotiate with the AI exactly how you want to modify it. But it just saves the teacher so much time in lesson prep and grading. We want to help teachers with lesson prep and grading so that they have more time for thinking about how best to support the students, to have more time with students in the classroom, to actually engage with them and teach them. So, so for us, The only thing that's different across countries is perhaps compliance. So data residency, for example, in some countries is very important. So for that, it is country specific. Otherwise, we're working with a very particular segment of schools that are excited to use this technology.
Okay, so we have about 40 seconds, so maybe 20 seconds. One thing that if your company can only focus on one thing, one major feature improvement, what would that be? Yes, for the next 2 years, what feature would you spend all your buckets, all your bucks into improving?
If I tell you, I would have to kill you. So,
You already told us cross-platform, no?
well, that is known already. But we're working on just having better feature parity on cross-platform so that all sorts of schools, not just Apple schools, can use Goodnotes. But for us, I would answer your question with one problem that we're solving for, rather than one feature, and that is saving teachers time. As any educator knows, time is so precious, and if we want teachers to stay longer in the profession, we've got to make their job easier. And for that, we are every day thinking about how can we save them time.
But you're not going to tell us how you do that because you would have to kill us. Is that right? Okay,
You can try our product and then you'll see.
okay, so we'll look forward to that. Christie?
Yeah.
One feature.
Yeah, so again, I'm not going to answer the feature, but I will tell you something that keeps me awake at night. I think there's a lot of buzzwords that we throw at teachers, and we throw a lot of, it's kind of like throwing a scalpel at a GP and then expect them to do heart surgery all the time. Teachers are given new tools all the time, not just tech tools. Teachers are given new curriculum, new ways of teaching English. There's a new way to teach Chinese now. There's another thing. And what keeps me up at night is thinking whether or not what we are building is actually closing that gap to the teacher reaching their ultimate goal of connecting with the student, helping the student achieve the learning outcome and the potential that the child has, and not just productivity goals. Because you can have a very productive staff in your school, but none of them care about the students. They're not connected with the families, and they're not touching lives and inspiring the next generation of entrepreneurs and innovators, right? What we need to do as the creator of scalpels for heart surgeons is really to know, well, this person is performing heart surgery every day, and it's a really big deal. They have a really big task on their hands. Let's not simply increase their productivity so that they can do more. There's not really more for them to do. It's more about what is the outcome to the students? What is the outcome to the patient that is undergoing the surgery? Did they recover faster? Did they become healthier individuals in the long run? Were they more adjusted human beings when they grow up? And the World Economic Forum tells us that in the future, they expect the most employable people to not be the engineers. They're not coders, because AI can code, right? The most employable human beings are the ones that have empathy, are the ones that have critical thinking and creative thinking skills, that have negotiation skills, that can get buy-in from other human beings to agree to what to do with AI in the future, right? So what keeps me up at night is my daughter, after 10, 20 years, going to have benefited from education systems that embedded my AI technology in them, that then equipped her to be that human being, rather than these teachers now can teach more and spend less time. All right, so that would be that is the number one question that me and my team is very much grappling with. And I know it's a little bit out there, but it needs to be addressed.
It is, and if you can solve that with a feature to make us all better human beings, I think that would be an amazing achievement. So thank you for the two of you for a very enlightening discussion.